Hello, everybody. This is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm in Howard County in the woods in Columbia at Merriweather Post Pavilion. And since it opened in 1967, loads of Baltimoreans, loads of Marylanders have come here in the summer for concerts for people like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, Harry Belafonte, Marvin Gaye, even Taylor Swift has played here. We're going to talk about that today. I am thrilled to be joined by Ian Kennedy, the director of Merriweather Post Pavilion. This is the third in our three-part summer series featuring places that Baltimoreans historically have gone in the summer. So a final thanks to PNC for making this possible. Thanks, PNC. Before I turn it over to Ian, though, let me say a word or two about how we got a Merriweather Post Pavilion. And let's start with the name. The name comes from Marjorie Merriweather Post, the daughter of C.W. Post, the founder of Post Cereals, who brought us things like grape nuts. When her father died, Marjorie took over, and she expanded to acquire name brands like Maxwell House Coffee and Log Cabin Syrup. She became quite wealthy. She had yachts, she had art collections, she had mansions, including a mansion that's been in the news recently, one in Florida called Mar-a-Lago. I think you know that one. She was also an enormous supporter of the National Symphony in Washington, D.C. And in 1967, when Columbia was being developed by KRAUSS companies, James Rouse of Inner Harbor fame, they thought that this would be a great concert venue for the National Symphony, and by naming it after Marjorie, they would get a hefty donation. Neither of those turned out. The symphony, the National Symphony, found another place to play their summer concert series, and nobody can confirm that the donation ever really came through. But despite that inauspicious start, the concert venue here in Merriweather turned out to be an A-plus place for performers from all over the country right from the very beginning. The first concert was a performer named Tiny Tim and the hard rocker Ted Nugent. That was good. The second concert was epic. It was Jimi Hendrix. He played yet-to-be classics like Hey Joe and the Star-Spangled Banner. Part of the concert he played with a guitar pick in his teeth. Apparently at the end there was a thunderstorm and the power went out, or maybe he over-amplified and the power went out, but his concert ended in kind of silence. Following him was Janis Joplin on her way to Woodstock. The reporter Carl Bernstein, who would go on to report at Watergate, attended her concert and said, quote, "It was a party and a romp." No doubt. And 1969 was another banner year. It was the first and only time that Led Zeppelin and The Who played on the same stage. Led Zeppelin went first, and they ended their series with Whole Lotta Love, a long song already, but apparently they really got into it and wouldn't stop, to the great consternation of The Who's management, which pulled the plug on them. Literally, they unplugged the Led Zeppelin's amplifier so The Who could get on stage. The 1970s were another series of A-listers. We had Ella Fitzgerald, Johnny Mathis, the Beach Boys. In 1 week, we had Stevie Wonder, Pink Floyd, and Glenn Campbell. And in a 3-day period, we had Arlo Guthrie, Miles Davis, Muddy Waters, and Al Green. Whoa, what a 3 days. The 1980s saw the invasion of the Grateful Dead and the Deadheads that came with it, somewhat to the consternation of the neighbors here at Columbia. The Deadhead folks, though, were serious about their music, more serious than they were about the weather. In 1983, Merriweather folks had to hire helicopters between shows to try to dry out the lawn, which had become a mud pit from a deluge of storms. And I am holding in my hand a ticket from 1983 to the Grateful Dead. It is not mine. It's a board member of ours. It is wonderful when you tell people you're doing a video about a concert venue, what kind of stuff they'll share. All right, moving on quickly. In the 1990s, the Grateful Dead was followed by another touring group, Phish. Merriweather folks again turned to helicopters, this time at night with searchlights to try to control the crowds. The 2000s, we had more superstars. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss performed together. Green Day performed here and had the first 15 rows of seats taken out and turned into a mosh pit. And then hometown heroes that became national stars called Animal Collective in 2009 named their breakout album Merriweather Post Pavilion after this place here. I am going to, one more era, the 2010s, Merriweather Post became sort of a festival venue, and I am sure many of you remember days at the HF Festival, the Virgin Free Fest, Summer Spirit, the Warped Tour, lots of days and evenings spent on the lawn here. I'm going to wrap up and turn it over to Ian, but with one more word. Lots of bands have played here multiple times, but if you're curious as to the band that's played here the most times, well, in 1977, Jimmy Buffett played here, and then he returned 41 more times. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, my name is Ian Kennedy, and I am the Executive Director of the Merriweather Arts and Culture Center, which is a nonprofit organization that owns Merriweather Post Pavilion. And it's our job to bring more community, cultural, artistic, and educational programs, both to Merriweather Post Pavilion, but also to the surrounding area in downtown Columbia and throughout Columbia. And we've owned the venue since 2017, but our story goes back even further than that. And my story in particular with Merriweather goes back, well, if you go all the way back to the Earth Day concert here in 1990. But for me, really, the story begins at my high school graduation, which took place here in 1995, when I got the chance to sing and play my guitar on stage. I sang Lean on Me in front of thousands of my friends and family and community members. And that really was the first time that Merriweather became more than just a concert venue to me. And now in my role here with the Merriweather Arts and Culture Center, I'm trying to create experiences for everyone in our community to experience and see Merriweather as more than just a great place for concerts. I'll pick up the story now in 2003. In 2003, Merriweather was still owned by the KRAUSS company. It had fallen on some tough times. There was competition from the new Nissan Pavilion in Northern Virginia, and also in the mid-90s, Wolf Trap started bringing in more contemporary music. So towards the end of the 90s and early 2000s, Merriweather was having less concerts each year. Also, the physical condition of the property had deteriorated over the years. Merriweather, built in 1967, was no longer able to accommodate the needs of modern artists or modern audiences. And so in 2003, the KRAUSS company, owners of Merriweather Post Pavilion, decided that it was time to shut this venue down. And me and one of my friends, a guy named Justin Carlson, we were two kids who grew up here and just loved Merriweather and loved all of the concerts and all the experiences that we had here. And we didn't want to see it close. So we got together with a few other friends and we started a group called Save Merriweather. Unbeknownst to us at the time, local politicians were also working to make sure that Merriweather wouldn't close. And so all of this came to a head in the summer of 2003, the grassroots movement, the political movement, and for the next 2 years, our community said loud and clear to the KRAUSS company, don't close Merriweather down. Sure enough, in 2005, the KRAUSS company relented. They said, fine, we're going to keep it open. But then from there, the question became, what's next? In 2010, the new downtown Columbia master plan called for Merriweather to be renovated, Merriweather to always be here in the middle of downtown Columbia, and ultimately for Merriweather to be given to a community-based nonprofit that could act as its steward and ensure it would never close down. Fast forward another 7 years to 2017, and that organization, now known as the Merriweather Arts and Culture Center, stood here with all of our friends and colleagues and accepted the keys to this venue. And from that point on, we have worked with our operator to ensure that Merriweather is still home to the best concerts anywhere, but is also a place where everyone in our community, whether they're coming to a concert, a graduation, a free movie night, or any of the many other events that we do here, feel like they are welcome here, that Merriweather is a place truly for everyone in our region.